Hello, it is Talking Reds in association with NordVPN. I am John Gibbons. This is Josh Sexton, and of course, you know, YouTube famous now, Mo Stewart. And we're here to look ahead to a cup semi-final, Mo. I'm excited. My WhatsApp groups are excited.
Yes.
Mick Clark just got a boot sandwich for 30p reduced. He was like, this is a sign we're going to Wembley. Oh. It feels like that sort of day. Yeah, it's feeling good. There's a nice buzz about the city this morning. You've obviously just come in, and it feels like the Reds are ready to go to Wembley?
Absolutely, they are ready. And I think that it's a weird situation with the first leg being so far away. But I think on the good side of that, it means that all of the kind of negativity that happened around that first leg, because Liverpool weren't quite up to where we wanted them to be in the games around that, all that's kind of disappeared now. We're back in form. Everyone's feeling like positive about it. And yes, we are going into this game 1 goal behind, but I think spiritually we're already level. We're already 1-0 up at Anfield. So I'm expecting good things from tonight, definitely.
Liverpool played that first leg, Josh, like a team who knew there was an Anfield leg. And I feel like, you know, they wouldn't have wanted to lose, obviously, but if that was a one-off game, we'd have approached it differently. Not necessarily in team selection, but I think sort of on the pitch, we obviously have a little bit of bad luck with the goal. But, you know, you always felt like Liverpool knew that they had 90 minutes at Anfield, and we back ourselves, obviously, as supporters, we back the team, but I think they're backing each other to come through tonight.
I think they were also just fatigued at that point. Like Ian Salmon said this on the pre-match warm-up the other day. Like that felt like peak blip really for Liverpool, where you know they had a couple of really like winding draws and things like that, and they go into that just I think in a bit of a fatigued spot. Like I think Jota starts that game, doesn't he? And he like particularly looks like probably the most he's been out of a Liverpool game, you know, in terms of just not being around the goal and things like that. So there's a couple of factors that sort of it feels like conspire against Liverpool a little bit going into that, and then of course loads that conspires against them in the latter stages. But I think they're always prepared. Like whenever there is a second leg at Anfield, there's always going to be that like underlying belief, isn't there? Like no matter what happens in the first leg, and then you'd like to think that doesn't become a self-fulfilling prophecy, but ultimately like they're human beings at the end of the day, aren't they? Like, you know, I'm a human being sat here ready for the game tonight. Looks like the set's like Degeneration X, by the way. I feel like we're getting Tottenham ready to suck it tonight, which I'm really into. So like, you know, my excitement is building for the game. My belief has been there from the very start, so I can imagine it was definitely the same for the players.
Listen, I will always spiritually go to the attitude era in any moment. Quite happy to do that. And tonight we are going to see some of the most electrifying men in sports entertainment.
Good.
Because the manager's going to go strong. The fact that it's Plymouth at the weekend helps make his decision for him. You know, he's had a bit of a break, obviously. Saturday to Thursday is about as long as you get. I always think 5 days is perfect for this Liverpool team. Any longer, they seem to sort of struggle with a bit of rhythm. Obviously, you don't want the games to be too tight. So 5 games seems to be perfect to recover from what was a pretty tough Bournemouth game, but to go again tonight. And like I say, most of them, if not all of them, could probably have Sunday off.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's one of those points where, like you say, it's long enough for them to have had a few recovery days and some training days, but it's close enough to feel like they've still got the feel-good factor of having got over that massive hurdle against Bournemouth. So I would have no qualms of going strong, although I mean, there's a few horses for courses picks that I might be interested in, because I think Spurs are going to bring Mickey van de Ven back. I think Slot even mentioned that yesterday in his press conference. He expects him to maybe come in. But
it's such a big game for Tottenham,
isn't
it? What are you saving him for?
Exactly. But he's already come back and broken down once. So he's kind of in the same position as Jota, as much as like you kind of want to be careful with him. And we've seen sometimes with Slot where he's decided not to pick Núñez and pick Diaz because he doesn't want, like the centre-halves like a physical battle and he doesn't want to give them that. I think we absolutely give Van de Ven a physical battle now. We test him, we make him run back, we make him fight for things. I'm absolutely throwing Darwin in tonight.
Yeah, well, there's not that many sorts of decisions to make for the manager because we have been sort of looking so strong. But Darwin's an interesting one. You know, Jota was back on the bench and is an option for him. You'd have thought Conor Bradley will come in for this one. Well, he almost certainly will because sort of Trent's out. So there's a couple of changes like the Conor one that's in force. But the thing is, the bench was so strong. You know, he was asked about it in the press conference, and he said to the Associated Press, including Mo, that his hardest decision of the week's actually who he can't put on the bench, and he, you know, that's the situation that we are in now with the sort of squad depth. It was Gomez and Chiesa who missed out last time. You know, this time who will it be? Well, obviously Bradley comes in, Trent drops out, so there's a space there. So you'd have thought Gomez would sort of come onto the bench, but he has. He is in a situation now, the manager, where there's good players being left out the team, and then even some decent ones who are not even able to get into the squad.
Yeah, he was like moaning about the size of squads, wasn't he?
In the Champions League, I could take everyone.
I also felt like I could hear Sean Dyche and Chris Wilder turning in the graves as he was saying that. To be honest,
I was like, I know why we know that.
But this the thing, isn't like he wants to be able to reward players who are ultimately in good form
and training hard.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and Chiesa has been brilliant. He's talked about how much Harvey Elliott has been brilliant all season, and their players who are, if they're not making benches, they're at least at the very bottom of benches now, because Liverpool's squad is so deep. So maybe if that rule's not going to change, Liverpool can figure out how they try and get more sort of top end depth rather than just sort of general depth across. But it's a brilliant problem for us ultimately as fans to have, isn't it? Because we want to have a situation where if players are getting injured, you feel like you've got able deputies to come in, and we absolutely do. And that's where Conor Bradley stands out as much as anybody, really, is that there have been question marks over Trent this season, even though Trent is the nailed on starting right back for Liverpool. It was interesting really hearing Klopp talk about the mistakes that Conor Bradley did make against PSV and things like that in the press conference yesterday, because they're the sorts of things that, like, I think this current crop of players are loving about Slot, is almost like that like striving for perfection kind of thing. So like there's been times this season where he's criticised Trent performance as well, or sort of marked out the things that Trent has maybe not done well in a game, and he's been less so wanting to do that when Trent's not in a good moment. He's maybe backed Trent a bit more when there's been those bad moments. I would argue that Connor's in a very good moment right now. Like, there's been so much going for him this season that is why I think Slot is laying down the gauntlet for him, especially doing it ahead of what's another big game for Connor, and we've seen how much Connor can rise to those occasions as well. Like, think no further than Real Madrid as the occasion that Connor's risen to, the League Cup final last season, which hopefully will be in another one very soon with his help. So yeah, it feels like there's all the sort of ingredients there for Slot to pick a really strong team, for us to have loads come off the bench, because for me, no matter who Tottenham are bringing back into it, our bench is way stronger than their bench, and if it comes down to that being the decisive factor, then I think they will be sucking it by the end.
The singling out in inverted commas of Conor Bradley was quite interesting. You were obviously in the room for that Mo. I mean, I watched the press conference and then watched it back, because I was like, was there a reason he brought that up? Like, but there wasn't really a lead up to it, so it was almost like, I don't know whether he decided before he was going to sort of mention that, or whether it just sort of popped into his head and said it. I don't know, but there wasn't necessarily he wasn't asked about Conor sort of Bradley. He wasn't really even asked about defensive issues and goals conceded. He just sort of brought that up, and as maybe a little bit of a reminder that we need to be sort of switched on at all times, and sometimes it can be just a little error or even a. Because I remember the goal, and he just sort of stops a little bit and then goes again, doesn't he? And it's like, and it's that split second, because it deflects off his foot. You think it's that split second that's the difference between a block and a proper block. That's out for the corner, and then that. So he's unfortunate in a way, but it was interesting that the manager chose that moment to mention what seemed at the time to be quite a small thing.
Yeah, and I mean, in fairness to Slot, he did say that it was a small thing. Yeah. It's funny because it has caused lots of debate and conversation, particularly on my press conference review video out on YouTube.
You're right there now.
Yeah.
Getting some love in the comments there as well, by the way.
But because lots of people are kind of uneasy with that, particularly with him being such a young player, because the tradition is that you don't really. Some people might feel like it's throwing him under the bus a little bit, but for me, the way I see it is that you can tell that it's something that he's already said to him in private. Like, it's not like the first time that Conor Bradley's hearing about this. And he mentioned in the press conference as well the fact that after every game, after every session, they sit down as a group and they go through what everyone has done well and what they need improvement on. So I don't think he will be able to feel like he's being singled out, because he will have known that what he said to us, he said to him and said to everyone else, and he obviously got to hear what he said about everybody else. So I think it's probably a doff of the cap to Bradley in a strange way, the fact that I think that you're strong enough to be able to take this public criticism and not take it the wrong way. But also, it's funny because he did a little bit of good cop, bad cop in the press conference, because he mentioned as well, like when he's refereeing the training sessions, that he ends up giving a free kick to the person who's upset the most, and it's like, that's not not really how you meant to ref games.
Not real games.
But it's like he cares, and he really does feel for the players. And when someone really shows that they care about you, when they're giving you advice and when they're giving you constructive criticism, you know it's just because they want to make you better. And I think that's really the prism we need to view all this from, is that he knows, and the rest of them know, that whenever Slot says something like that, he's just trying to make them better. And yeah, you said there was no real context or no kind of lead up to it. The question was about the fact that he was the one who was obviously going to come in, because he'd already said that Trent wasn't playing. So it was almost like not quite resting on your laurels, because he didn't say which keeper was playing, even though he knew. And he just decided.
He said he hadn't told them.
Yeah. And he knew. And I dare say he may have already told them, or they may have had an indication.
I dare say we all know as well. Sorry, Queeve.
But but from the point of view of that, it was obvious to everybody that Conor Bradley was starting. So it's like, whereas most people would say, yes, he's great, we're bigging him up thinking, I want him to go out there feeling fully confident. He doesn't have to do that. He knows he's already confident. He knows he's good enough to do the job. So he wants him to concentrate on the tiny little details. And I think hopefully that's what we'll see in the performance tonight.
Yeah, hopefully that is what we'll see. And listen, I'm sure we will. We know, like Josh has said, when he's playing with that intensity, what he's got in his locker, and I'm expecting all that intensity from the Liverpool players tonight. Just a quick shout out to NordVPN, like I mentioned at the start, that we are partnering with them for Talking Reds for the rest of the season. It is fantastic to do so. There's lots of benefits to a service like NordVPN. There's the internet security, especially when logging in on public Wi-Fi. It's just that extra bit of peace of mind when you are sort of logging in public spaces that something like NordVPN can offer you. If with one subscription, you can set it up on up to 10 devices at the moment. So all your laptops, your family iPads and stuff like that can get all sorted from one subscription. But I know for a lot of you who have signed up, one of the main benefits is being able to switch that virtual location, and allows you to access streaming service, sporting services. Mo is nodding to my left, all around the world. Now, I would say as well, I don't want to mention them by name, but there was a subscription service that I use to watch certain things that happen at Saturday at 3 o'clock that have got a fantastic special offer on at the moment. It is an American company, so to look after that, if you sign up for a year, it is very, very low indeed. So that's what I'm using currently at the moment to watch certain things that happen, sometimes around the corner at Saturday at 3 o'clock that I can't watch. I've got an amazing offer. So you can sign up for something like NordVPN. You change your virtual location to that country, sign up for the streaming service for the very low price currently indeed, and everything opens up for you possibilities. And that's, not just for things that are going on in this country, but obviously I've got two huge US sport fans to my left and right to me. Sometimes it's nice just to access their coverage of the American sporting events or whatever country that you are sort of interested in, and that allows you to do that as well. So loads of reasons to sign up. There's also a 30-day money back guarantee as well. So if you sign up and it's not for you, then within 30 days you can get your money back. They are that confident. It's nordvpn.com/TAW if you want to sign up. nordvpn.com/TAW. On to a little bit more sort of on tonight, but looking ahead to the final. We know it's Newcastle who we're going to face. They're going to be bang up for it. They do Arsenal 4-0 over the two legs, which is absolutely fair enough, and I think good value, for both wins. And I think it is going to be a massive game for them, but also they played in a final a couple of years ago, and so it's not like they've not been in a final for ages. I think that was a big occasion for them, and sometimes your first one you get to, we've seen it with Liverpool, with teams we faced, like Tottenham sort of in the Champions League. The first one you get to, there's a little bit of a happy to be here type thing. There won't be that, and so whoever gets through, we hope it's obviously Liverpool, but whoever gets through, I think it'll be a tough game in the final. Yeah,
I think you saw how much over the two legs Newcastle were up for the occasion, and I don't even necessarily just mean that in terms of the general play that Newcastle showed in both legs, which I was surprised by in both, really. Like, I was surprised at the first leg result, and then I was surprised that there was even that added on top of it last night. either there wasn't more of a reaction from Arsenal and stuff, because Ishak and Gordon were coming out after the first leg and sort of saying a couple of like talking a big game, I'll say, and then Gordon's back out there last night saying stay humble and stuff like that, which is Arsenal feel like they've made themselves the annoying scalp of the Premier League now, don't they? Like everyone wants Arsenal to just shut up, basically. shut up, you boring bitches.
Exactly,
So I think Newcastle were happy to help out with that and sort of put pay to them. So they will be up for it. And like you say, they're a more sort of experienced team in that sense this time round. Now I think they're a better quality team, to be honest, than last time it was United, the last Carabao Cup final they played in, wasn't it? So I think there's more sort of quality there now. They're in a bit of a more certain moment, I would say, under Eddie Howe and with this squad. So I'm expecting whoever gets there for it to be a big challenge. If it is Liverpool, it's probably in some ways my best case scenario, but also my worst case scenario, because the idea of playing Arsenal at Wembley and it being that big occasion, because we think they're more annoying than everyone else thinks they're annoying. So besides maybe City at the moment in this week right now, but the idea of potentially losing to Arsenal at Wembley, and it's not really ever the way I think of things, to be honest. I'm more thinking like, how brilliant would it be to beat them? And it would have been brilliant to beat them. It would be brilliant if we get there to beat Newcastle, but it sort of would mean less to me than beating Arsenal. So in some ways, best and worst case scenario. But listen, Newcastle are an absolutely brilliant team, aren't they? We know exactly what threat they can pose to us, because they've done it literally to us already this season. So for whoever does get there, hopefully it is Liverpool, a huge challenge to come.
I think as well, the interesting thing is that if it is Liverpool get there, we've got another league game against them between now and then. So we're playing them at home, and it'll be fascinating to see whether or not they do anything tactically, they make any changes to try and prepare themselves for what it will be, because I don't think that they really gave a great account of themselves in the last final. And obviously for them, they had the big thing of not having Nick Pope. They had Karius in goal because he got sent off against us.
Of course,
the game
before.
Which I do think put them on the back foot. And obviously, from their point of view, they'll hope that something like that doesn't happen this time, so they'll be able to go in there full team, full squad, full confidence. But I do think that if Liverpool are able to get one over on them and win convincingly in the league game between now and then, that's going to give us a massive psychological edge. Unlike Josh, I wasn't surprised by what I saw last night. Like, this is 3 games that Newcastle played Arsenal this season, and Arsenal haven't got anywhere near them in any of them. They haven't even scored a goal in any of the 3 games, which is good news for us, considering they've got to play them again before the end of the season. That's in the league. Fair, so I think sometimes certain teams just have the other team's number at certain points in the seasons and in years, and it feels like Newcastle have got that against them. But I think you're right to say it's going to be a very, very fascinating game, a very tough game to win. But I do think we probably should have won at St James's. I think it's fair to say.
Well, they had the game won, didn't they? But as tough as it was, they had the game won going into stoppage time. And obviously, with the free kick, it's poor judgment from Kelleher. It's a bit of luck for the finish, if we're all honest. I think he said he's trying to just get it back across. And, you try that 100 times again, and he'd only scored it once. So it's also one of those. So although we found it very tough, we did have the game won. Yeah,
exactly. And I think that we can use that and say, okay, well, we know what mistake we made towards the end of the game. We need to make sure that those things don't happen. But also in terms of the early stage of the game where the approach in the first half wasn't quite what the situation demanded. I think what we've seen from this Liverpool team is that when they have made those kind of mistakes, they've been able to remember and rectify them, and they came out better in the second half. So here's hoping that they'll be able to do that again in the next game in the league, and then potentially obviously in the final as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Isaac he does look phenomenal at the moment, doesn't he? You mentioned the two of them, him and Gordon, they were great, and it made me laugh a bit on Twitter last night. People having a go at the Arsenal centre halves, and listen, I know what it's like. They get built up so much that people are looking for little chinks in the armour and to sort of have a go. But you remind me of like when Drogba was like, you try. You know what I mean? Like, what are you meant to do? It was a little bit, what are you meant to do last night? The one the first goal where I think it's Saliba gets in front of him and then he still managed to get his leg behind him. I mean, come on, mate. Just keep it through. It's unbelievable centre forward play, and he's so confident at the moment, isn't he?
It's unreal, isn't it? Because we as Liverpool fans are having the conversation about whether we need a proper number 9 now. Obviously, the Darwin experiment has still not really kicked on in the way we hoped it would to this extent. So now you're basically getting people on either sides of the Ishak to Liverpool debate, where you've got someone who going, he'd never fit in, he'd harm Salah if Salah is still here beyond the summer, he'd harm what Diaz and Gakpo want to do off the left as well. But then you've got someone who's saying, lad, have you seen him play football? It doesn't matter what anyone else on the pitch is doing, he's going to score goals and he's going to find a way. And that's been how it's felt for much of this season now. And I think there's other things with Ishak for me which probably would, if there was going to be any number 9 I'd sign in world football right now, it probably would be him. It's like everyone's overblown the injury record thing as well. I've seen so many people coming out and be like, the injury record's really bad. He had the bad one in his first season. There's one last season where he misses a fair chunk of time, but I think it falls in an international break, and there's a bit of a sort of gap in fixtures there. So he actually he makes 30 appearances in the Premier League last season alone. So for me, the injury record is not particularly a worry. I don't think there's been one this season so far, or at least not a sort of big one. So yeah, I would feel confident if Liverpool were to sign him that there's a lot of talent to work with there, but it's just whether Liverpool want to stump up the money to pay for someone like that.
I'm going to ask more about number 9s now, because you asked about that at the press conference yesterday. But before we do, sorry I've not brought in any comments yet, so this is my shout to Josh that I'm just about to do that. So anything you want to say about the game tonight, about Newcastle, how much you'd personally pay for Isaac, not Liverpool, out your bank account right now, you can use your overdraft, how much you'd sign sort of Isaac for, or if there's anyone else, do let Josh know, and Josh will sort of read them out. So anything about any of the matters pertaining so far. But the 9 thing is interesting. You asked a really interesting question about it, and it was maybe a bit of a call back to previous times where he talked about wanting the number 9s to score more goals, be more involved in sort of the action. And you pointed to a stat that said I think it's just 4 shots on goal in the last 4 games from whoever's been playing number 9. But that said, they are acting more as a facilitator, which I slightly enjoy sort of as a word. So what does he want? And he very greedily said both.
Everything.
Yes. Do you want this or this? Yes. That's when you ask him what he wants for breakfast. So that's what he was sort of after. But I get the impression that he's not completely enamoured with all the number 9s at the moment, and that's not to say that we're gonna sell a lot of them, because he might think, well, Diaz it's been great on the left side for me, so I see his future more there. This is just making do at the moment. He might love Diogo Jota, but just doesn't feel like he can get him on the pitch enough. But and then the Darwin thing, sort of, who knows really. He might see, even if he doesn't see him as a starter, thinks he's a decent sort of wild card option. And so I'm not saying that he's sort of given up on any of them, but I do sense, and I got it a little bit more of it from your sort of answer, that actually, listen, he's got high standards, and we started this conversation talking about that with regard to Bally. He's got high standards, so maybe whatever area of the pitch you were talking about, he'd talk about improvements. But I feel like particularly number 9, if we were going to talk about most of the areas of the pitch at the moment, is particularly number 9 where he'd like a little bit more.
I agree, and I think we are kind of spoilt to a certain extent because he's been such a good coach as well as a manager that he's been able to get a really good tune out of the resources he's got. But you do get the impression that if he had a blank canvas and he had no strikers and he was like, go out and find me a striker, they probably wouldn't look much like the ones we've got. I think there was that period before his first injury where Jota was playing regularly in number 9, and Slot was praising his work as a link man as well as being the guy who could score the goals. So I think actually a fully fit and fortified Jota is the closest of the ones we've got to what he would like. But how fit is he? How much can he trust him? Because if you look at the way we tried to bring Jota back to fitness after his last injury, they did absolutely everything to make sure he didn't break down again. And what happened? He broke down again. Yeah. So that stakes in a manager's mind where it's like, availability is the best ability. And if you can't give me that, then I can't really put you at the top of my list anymore. So that's probably where we've seen Diaz become more prominent in that role, and he's probably been playing in it longer than Slot anticipate. I'm not sure that he thought he was going to be doing it for more than 2 or 3 games, and it's like 3 months later.
And that's partly testament to Diaz.
Yeah, exactly.
And how he's sort of stuck at it.
But I think the fascinating thing about all this for me, because it was like it's 4 shots on target in 400 minutes across 6 games from 3 different players in that position. And so we, as fans, we focus on the players and we think, oh, well, that guy's not doing it, and bring Isak in and he'll be doing it. But the fact remains is that whoever's playing there, the system isn't getting them the opportunities, isn't getting them the shots. So you could play Drogba in there, you could play Marco van Basten in there. If the game is not going towards them, then they're still going to be short on goals. But the fascinating thing for me about all this is that within that period of 6 games, you've also got Jota's goal against Forest, which admittedly is from a set piece, but he's in the centre of the goal. The 2 Nunes off the bench against Brentford, he's in the centre of the goal. But the one for me is Gakpo against Ipswich, who's starting on the left-hand side.
It's a proper centre-forward's goal.
But both of his goals, one was a rebound in the 6-yard box.
Yeah, I was thinking of the second one, but you're right, yeah.
And so we are getting players in those central spaces, but it's just not the guy who starts there.
Yeah.
So then it's like, how do you spy for that? How do you kind of factor that in? And like Josh says, the key thing is that whoever you bring in there, you don't want them to make it harder for the guys who are doing really well on either side of them.
Yeah, because they're getting the space because someone else is dragging them out. And Slot talked about that. He always tried to give an assist to Diaz for the penalty that Gakpo wins because he's dragging people out. So I think there's an acknowledgement that there's sometimes when you are there, if you're moving people around, you're creating space for other people. But it's also interesting that Slot say, yeah, but I don't just want that.
Yeah.
I want the kicking in of the goal as well.
But I think I've watched enough of Isak, and I do think that he could be someone who does both those. Yeah. I think he's really, he can be a good target man. He's someone who you can ask to hold up the ball, be physical, occupy defenders, but also he's smart. He's got a good weight of pass. He's someone who can make intelligent runs to create space. I mean, we've seen how him and Gordon have worked really well. You've seen how him and Jacob Murphy have worked really well. And like, no disrespect, Jacob, I did not think you had this in you.
I don't think he did. I loved his interview after the game. First of all, he was freezing because he was like, "Oh, I'll just go out me flip flops and go, it's fine." And then he was like, "Shit, it's cold." So first of all, he was freezing, but he also just seemed like a lovely lad.
Yeah, no, he is. But
he's a bit like, "Yeah, this is great." Isn't it?
But he's someone who's a hard worker who just keeps going.
Yeah.
And when you've got someone who's, like I said, such an intelligent user of space, occupier of defenders, it makes your job easier. So he's not having to, beat 3 men and bend one in the top corner. He's able to just use his work rate to be in the right position when the ball comes off the post to go and slot it in. So I think Isak can be that focal point without being the one who always has to draw all of the goals. So again, the idea about having him and a Mo Salah playing together, would having him there be someone who means that Mo Salah doesn't get as many touches, doesn't get as many shots, doesn't make any goals? I think they could work together.
Yeah, I don't think Jacob Murphy said was interesting. They were like talking about, oh, you've got this great understanding with Isaac, and he was like, yes, my understanding is he's boss.
Kick it to him.
Yeah. I mean, all the best there. Any interesting comments about Isaac, about the game, about Newcastle, about anything in particular?
Yeah, just a lot of confidence around Isak at the moment. Someone says we should sign him just for the Arsenal fume alone, to be honest.
Just like they won a league title, they also bought Isaac 2 months ago.
A lot of confidence ahead of the game tonight as well. There was one interesting comment from Roshton Monk, 99. There's always some great names in here. He said, Neil talks about being relaxed if we get knocked out. How do we feel about the Q word, obviously meaning quadruple? It took me a while to figure that out, that's why I'm saying it. Will the congestion get us in the end? I guess that's the concern, isn't it, ahead of tonight, are we too far into the competition now where like the one extra fixture is not going to make a big difference? Obviously it means we lose the midweek before the City game, whether we want the midweek before the City game to be free. Do we want to have to play Villa away in that week? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest with you, Mo, because listen, I'm all up for getting for finals, and I'm all up for winning stuff, and I think your first trophy is a big one. And listen, a lot of teams have won the Carabao Cup and gone on to win the league. City made a real sort of habit of it, but that Villa game getting half announced as a real reminder that these aren't just, free games, if you like. Things do need to be sort of moved around. And so when I saw that Villa game go in, I was like, oh, that would have been a nice week off with anything. Well, it's got to go in somewhere, John, do you know what I mean? And so, I can understand. For me, it's, I do really want to go through, and I think it's sort of better overall if we do. And I really like the idea of having a better build up to the next league game than Arsenal, for in terms of for winning the league. And so they had this huge win against Manchester City. They won the game 5-1. And then I love the idea of by the next time they play a league game, we're in the final there and we beat Everton.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like, but nice little win, boys. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, almost psychologically for the league title as much as this competition, like I want to sort of go through, but I do take the point on this extra Villa game. You need to play it somewhere.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because the thing with the Q word is that the reason that people are so scared of it is because no one's ever done it before.
Yeah.
And we got close to it, and you could argue getting close to it harmed the things in the eventuality, although I still think most of us will acknowledge that there were other circumstances that came into play, i.e. Paris, i.e. Villa unable to hold a 2-0 lead at the City. But anyway, for me, I think you can look at it from two different ways. Looking at the squad that we've got at the moment, the fact that we just said about how hard it is to leave out players who are fit and firing and not playing, having those extra games is good because it keeps them involved. The moment we get a few more injuries and suddenly we're stretched a bit thin and we're trying to find players who's going to play there, who's going to play there, that's when it becomes a bit of a problem. So in a world where we're able to maintain similar or the same level of fitness throughout the squad between now and May, yes, I want us to go for all four competitions. I want us to have as many games as possible. But obviously you can't really predict that beforehand, so it's a difficult one. But I absolutely wouldn't want to lose tonight. I think the FA Cup is the one where if you're going to lose one, then that's one, because I think as you go further in terms of disruption of fixtures and stuff like that, FA Cup has a much bigger impact because there's a couple of rounds that gets played at the weekend, which means then you've got another midweek. And if, as we hope, we're still in Europe, then our midweeks are already going to be quite tight. So I think that becomes more difficult in terms of the planning, the training, the recovery, the playing, that kind of cycle. So I can see a world where we get a FA Cup draw and we think, okay, well, I don't mind that. But again, who do you want to lose to? I don't want to lose to anyone. I want us to be able to say, no, we're just going to keep winning. Sorry, everyone, we're just going to keep winning.
Yeah, we're just going to keep winning. Up there, that's sorted. Don't worry about it. Yeah, we keep winning games, and you know what happens. Games mean prizes. So keep winning the games until we've got all the cups. Absolutely brilliant. Okay, loads looking ahead to this game on the Anfield Wrap app at the moment as well. Pre-match warm-up that Josh mentioned before is there, and obviously straight after the game, the best post-match reaction, we think, anywhere from the heart of Anfield, audio and video, or from the Glen Book, a stone's throw away down the road from Anfield Stadium, hopefully after a big Liverpool win. So all that to look forward to. So download the app, and then there'll be loads of analysis tomorrow of the game as well, and obviously looking ahead to Plymouth, which is part 2 of this quadruple, the Liverpool of Moses box. So that is all there as well. So great time to subscribe to the Anfield Wrap, we think. Just to give a shout out as well, we are going over to Australia in March. A couple of those shows there are tickets still available for, so we put on an extra Perth show which you can still get tickets for slightly earlier in the day, and also Adelaide as well, which you really moaned about. So get yourself sorted. Are you doing both those shows?
I think I am, yeah.
Absolute Sexton, 100% Sexton. You get those bums in Sydney, they're not getting any of it. Apart from, of course, the picture of Josh Sexton that I always carry with me in my wallet, so I will get that out, but that will be the only Josh who's there. But I know what you're thinking, America. You normally come and see us in March. You're going to Australia. That is out of order. Well, lucky for you.
Hey! You're gonna get a whole load of mo. Well, if you live on the East Coast, anyway. So I can tell you the dates now. Wednesday, 19th of March, I'll be in Boston. Friday the 21st of March, I'll be in New York, and Sunday the 23rd of March, I'll be in Philadelphia doing a little bit of a Q&A, talking about all the wonderful stuff that we've just been talking about, but also talking about what I get up to in the press conferences and what I get up to with these lot here, giving you a bit of an indication of what it's like to do all those things. And then I'm going to be doing my other job, which is DJing as well. So you get 2 shows for the price of one, all in conjunction with the local official Liverpool sports clubs. We're going to be doing a raffle at some of them as well. We're going to be giving away some good prizes, try to raise some money for some good causes over there and here as well. Bring that connection together. Look out probably within the next 7 to 10 days of exactly how you can get tickets. But I'm excited. Cannot wait to come over and see you guys.
I just can't believe you get days off between shows. Craig told me that was I'm going to assured.
My bookings just got well harder.
Days off, I'll tell you what. Didn't know it was possible, but apparently you can. Up to Reds, thanks so much to NordVPN. Wherever it is you're watching the game tonight, whether it is Anfield, whether it is with your supporters clubs, or just at home, make sure you're cheering as loud as you can, because there's a quadruple to win. Up to Reds.
Bring your digital life to a whole new level with NordVPN. Choose the fastest VPN on the planet and explore the internet without interruption.